Welcome to the Coach's Corner, part of the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and this is where real conversations meet real growth. Here we explore what it means to rise through reflection, resilience, and purpose. One story, one insight, one breakthrough at a time. Whether you're a coach, a leader, or simply on your own personal development journey, this is your space to reflect, identify, stand, and emerge stronger than before. So grab your notebook, take a deep breath, and let's rise together right here in the Coach's Corner. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Coach's Corner, where we bring you conversations that inspire growth, resilience, leadership, and authentic living. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and today we're diving into a topic that affects so many high achieving women: the hidden cost of success. Our guest today is Samantha Gregory, a self care alchemist, tech wellness consultant, and founder of the School of Self Devotion. After experiencing premature menopause at just 32 years old, Samantha transformed what could have been one of life's greatest setbacks into a mission to help women stop sacrificing themselves for success. Today, she teaches women, especially Black women, how to replace burnout with self devotion by creating nervous system informed systems that support boundaries, rest, pleasure, and sustainable leadership. Her impressive career includes consulting and training for organizations like NASA, Google, and Verizon, where she combined technology, strategy, and wellness to help people perform at their highest level without losing themselves in the process. She's also the creator of the Self Care Oasis community, a podcast host, a writer, and an advocate for living life fully, not merely surviving it. Please join me in welcoming Samantha Gregory to the Coach's Corner.
Hi,
Hello.
Davina. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Why are you smiling?
I was listening to everything you were saying about me. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I love that. And then we had the intro came in. It's just the showbiz. I love it.
Oh, good, good, good. I love it too. I love the intro where the lion comes at me.
Yes.
I get into that too, so I hear you. Hey, it's all well deserved. I am
Thank
so
you.
excited to have you on. You're definitely a person after my own heart. The things that you're doing, as I mentioned pre-show, very similar, but we're on the same path. We have the same vision. You're just serving in a different way, but it's so well needed, especially now. So I'm very, very excited to have you on and have you share. There's women out there who are waiting for your message. So let's do it, right?
All
Let's
right.
get right into it.
I'm ready.
So I mentioned this in the intro. Your story began with a major health scare, 32 years old. What happened and how did that completely reshape how you define success?
What happened was, I think what a lot of women go through, I was living life on power drive, auto drive mode. I was on the success track. I was taking care of my kids. I was taking care of all the people in my life. I'm the eldest daughter. So if you know someone, you can imagine that I was the one overly responsible, overly dependable, the one that was just in charge of doing everything for everyone. And I was in school full time. I was working full time, taking care of the kids, all the things. So I was running and running and running, but I was so used to running all the time and never took a thought of how do I feel and what do I need for myself. So I was taught growing up, you give to others, you give to God, you give to everyone but yourself. because to give it to yourself, you always last on the bottom rung. And so that's how I live my life basically. And I got into a series of horrible relationships, and they that added another layer of stress. And but it was the thing that broke the camel's back. It was the thing that pushed me over the edge, especially dealing with abuse, dealing with not having boundaries, and giving all of my power away to other people, including a spouse who is now an ex-spouse. And my body was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" And then learn later on that when you're in such a high level of stress, like chronic stress, your reproductive system starts to just shut down because it's okay, we can't do this. This is not a part of your process. And until you get it together, then we're just going to just exit stage left. So
Mhm.
everything reproductively exited stage left. I was thrown into early menopause, and it was just the wake up call. I needed to be able to say, this is not sustainable. I can't live like this because the stress is literally going to kill me.
Oh my goodness, it's so true. And even as you're talking as a Black woman, I hear you at a different level. You know what I'm saying? And I know people might wonder why is that Black or not. Truthfully, different we all have different ways of relating and things that are happening to our bodies physiologically. There's patterns with different people. And I always say I relate best to that which I am because
Yes,
I understand. And so
yes,
as you're talking, I'm feeling everything you're saying, right down to the relationship thing. I too am an ex, same thing, because there comes a point by which you have to put yourself first.
yes.
You have to say enough is enough. And I think that's exactly where you ended up.
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting, and I hope our listeners are hearing, is that your body can say it for you, right? Yes, your body can say
Yeah.
it for you. And we all have different things that we do. I know I ate my troubles away because
Mm,
I've never been one to drink or to smoke or anything
right.
like that. So for me, food was the addiction, and I've battled that every day, the food noise. So
Mhm.
I totally understand that in some ways, physiologically, your body's responding, something's happening, whether it's brain centered or body centered.
Right.
And I think I want to say right in the beginning, I'm just grateful that people like yourself can go through things and turn it around and make it for the good of others.
Yes.
And so this is where we are. So I'm so excited to hear more about that. You use the phrase self devotion instead
Mhm.
of simply self care, because we always hear self care. And
Yes.
I've seen people say, oh, that's so played out. That's so cliche, self care. What's the difference and why did you use devotion? What about that distinction matters?
After I got diagnosed and then started down the rabbit hole to figure out what was going on with me from a symptom perspective and how to manage that, I had
Mhm.
to dig deeper and go to the root cause. And the root cause was that I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I started on this journey of radical selfishness and then radical self care. And in my mind at the time, it wasn't a lot of people talking about it that much, but I knew that for me, if in order for me to get out of this spiral that I was in, I needed to start taking care of myself. And so I focused on self care from a radical perspective, which was building better boundaries, getting it back into balance, and then getting on a pathway to bliss, which is what I teach people now. And then as I started teaching more, talking more, writing more about this topic, and I was thinking, I was like, okay, so people aren't really differentiating between pampering practices, which is going to the spa, getting your nails done, and all the things, from what it really means to go deep within and turn your attention on yourself from an extreme and radical perspective so that it becomes a lifestyle choice and not just an escape hatch that you are looking for when you're on the brink of burnout or when you're in burnout. So I started talking about self devotion because I
Mhm.
think when you incorporate self devotion, or when you look at it from that perspective, you are literally centering yourself. You become self devoted, self connected, self driven, so that you are not losing yourself in any other relationships or in your work or in anything outside of yourself that
Mhm.
makes you, like I said, lose yourself.
Mhm.
So being self devoted is foundational. That's what I teach, is foundational. It has to be me first. And that's so hard for Black women. So
Mhm.
hard. for Black
Mhm.
women, for women in
Mhm.
general. And we're taught to be caretakers. We're taught to put everyone else first, like I mentioned before,
Mhm.
trajectory I was on. But
Mhm.
when you begin to radically shift and you incorporate or talk or position it as self devotion, then the self care practices and ideology becomes more ingrained. It becomes just a lifestyle choice. Self
Yeah.
devotion is a lifestyle. And that's why I preach that versus self.
Mhm. I love the word devotion because when I think about it, it's a spiritual thing. It's like devoting, like we do to our higher power,
Yeah.
but putting yourself in that light,
Mm,
it does become more embodied, and it does.
yes.
To me, I think it lasts longer. And
Absolutely.
I'd never thought of it that way. So, see, you've taught me something that going forward, I will probably say self devotion as opposed to self care. But I
Yeah.
understand that self care is a much more relatable term. So you have to use both. But I definitely appreciate that. And as you were talking about how we're taught to take care of others, my mind goes right to the what my mother taught me, what I
Mhm.
saw versus what she told me. What I saw was her catering, and always from the meals, the cooking, the cleaning, the everything she did that with pride.
Mhm.
And when you're a young girl and you're watching your mother, then you think when you get in a relationship, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to cater. But
Right.
there's another side of the equation that says someone's supposed to cater to you too,
Mhm.
in the sense of you also need that love back. And if it's not reciprocated, you're giving more, that's causing more stress. I do appreciate the notion that while we do want to be nurturing, we also need to understand that we have to get fed at the same time. And because we can't do anything from an empty cup, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah.
not. I'm
Yeah.
always fill yourself up to the overflow and only
Yeah.
give from the overflow.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. So many women have built an identity around being dependable, capable, and always available. And that's part of what we're talking about. So, why is that identity so difficult to let go of?
I think the key word is identity.
Mm.
We identify with whatever gives us the most, not satisfaction, approval. We get a
Wow.
stamp of approval by having an identity of being a caretaker because when the people around us reward that, that's where we gravitate towards. We want to go along to get along. We want to
Right.
make sure we're not making waves or ripples in the ecosystem. And we are wanting to make sure that we are not being a troublemaker or giving people a hard time. We just want to be palatable for
Right.
everyone around us. And so I think that's why it's so difficult because when you stop being the dependable one, the capable one, the
Mhm.
one who everybody can turn to, then you become a villain. And
Say that.
who wants to become the villain? Because the villain has been villainized, but the person who's the villain is really the one who has the autonomy, the
Right.
voice to be able to say, no, this doesn't work for me. This is not a reciprocal relationship. Why am I doing all the giving while everybody's doing all the taking? And so when you become the villain, you ostracize yourself, or the potential is there to ostracize yourself. The potential is to be kicked out of the group, kicked out of the society, and forced to fend for yourself. And because we're such community minded, since we are so relational, especially as women, we don't want to do anything to rock the boat. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize that relationship. But the quiet is kept is there are so many women who are doing this now and who can become your community because they too have decided I'm not going to just be the one that everybody runs over. I'm not going to be the one who's capable, who's dependable to a fault. And while I'm being sapped of my energy, extracted from, and I'm used as the scapegoat in everybody else's life.
That is so true,
Yeah.
so real. And I agree with you. Community is so important. In fact, you and I are part of a community, the collective.
Yes.
And I totally believe that when we are showing up for one another in the ways in which we do, in strengthening one another, we are all more successful in that way. I totally agree with you. You talk about nervous system sovereignty. What does that actually mean, and why should leaders pay attention to it?
Sure. So our nervous system is, I think, one of the main drivers and the key to us being in a space of healthy wholeness, balance, because for most of us, we're dysregulated. We have many triggers, many traumas, many things that we do because our nervous system is so out of balance and dysregulated. And
Mhm.
we talk about how in our bodies, we need to give ourselves a space of healing. And so we can't really do that if our nervous system is always firing off.
Mhm.
We're always being triggered by a word that someone says, a smell, a memory, or what have you. And so nervous system sovereignty is all about pulling your nervous system or healing your nervous system in a way that most people really don't do on a daily basis. Is checking in with yourself, is grounding yourself, is giving yourself time and space to allow the release of the energy that's been stuck or stored in our nervous system that causes the triggers, the
Mm.
memories that are in our bodies that we probably may or may not be aware of. And I think more and more people are becoming more aware that, yeah, something is going on. I can't move in a certain way without my body just seizing up, me going to fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or and even a new word, flop, where you just can fall. So our nervous system is really
Mhm.
struggling, but also telling us the story of what's really happened in our lives and
Mm.
giving us clues and almost begging us to get it together, to really take control of our nervous systems again. So I think that's what the sovereignty is all about, is taking full control of and responsibility for what's happening in your body from on a somatic level so that we can heal ourselves, become happy, that we deserve happiness. We deserve to enjoy life. We deserve all the good things. But if our nervous system is firing off left and right every time something happens, that lets you know that you are not really in control. And retaining and regaining the control, reclaiming that is when you start to heal your nervous system.
Very powerful. And when we talk about what stress does to the body, what you're talking about
Mhm.
is essential. Having that nervous system sovereignty is essential to quell that
Mhm.
stress, the
Mhm.
effect of stress on the body. So I totally get it. And so far, I'm clocking with you
Yes.
100%. And as a classroom teacher, as someone who shows up and is from day to day, there's all sorts of stress. It is something that I am consciously being aware of. And even
Mhm.
in what I do with Rising Resilience, I am always talking about this very topic because people in high stress positions are, and I know you have had some exposure to
Yeah.
different ones, clients like NASA,
Mhm.
Wireless, Google,
Yeah.
those are companies with so many employees that
Yes.
I'm sure you can make a difference there. So what are the patterns that you've seen in these corporate settings with high performers?
High performers are they got run on 2 sides of the spectrum as from what I've seen. They are in fight or flight, where they're always or fawn, and they're always the accommodating, gonna make sure everything is okay, everybody's happy and ready to get the rob kind of person. They are always there before everyone gets there. They're the last one to leave. They're the ones who make sure that everything runs smoothly or as smoothly as possible. They take the blame for things and but they sequester themselves in the office. They eat by themselves or they don't eat. They rarely leave. They don't leave the office until the end of the day, usually after the sun has set. And they tend to have a lot of health issues, whether it's indigestion, they may have they may have high blood pressure, they may have, especially if you're a woman, mature woman, your hormones starts to get dysregulated, hot flashes and everything. And then you have the people on the other side of the spectrum who are easily triggered, easily angered. They blame other people. They refuse to take responsibility. They are also dealing with health issues as well. They may be overweight. Their face may. There's one guy. His face was always so red,
Mhm.
and he never looked healthy. He sweated a lot. It was
Mhm.
just bad.
Mhm.
So, and he had a extreme beer belly, and this is not
Mhm.
to denigrate anyone, but it's just simply
Mhm.
just seeing the signs and the symptoms. And he was really a heart attack waiting to happen. I saw this and I was like, I just don't want to be this way. I don't want to live like this. And then there's the women who are hyper vigilant, who are micromanagers. This is how you tell when people are in high stress situations, and this is how it starts to manifest. And they don't really realize that their nervous system is shot and they're doing all they can. They're like in severe survival mode. And they really don't feel like there's anything they can do about it because they have to meet the numbers. They have to get the reports in. They have to make sure that they're meeting their metrics, the KPIs, et cetera, et cetera. And if they don't, they feel like they're going to be fired. They feel like they're going to be demoted. So it's such a fear-based reactions in society, and it's really sad to watch. And I knew for me, mine was a silent kind of killer
Yeah.
because I was internalizing everything. I never spoke up. I was always accommodating and being the smartest person in the room. But at the same time, I had so much on my shoulders, such a burden on my shoulders, and so much pressure to survive. It all comes down to survival mode.
And what you think you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally relate. I spent the first 30 years of my career in corporate. I didn't become a teacher until I turned 50.
Mhm.
Turned 50 in the classroom, my first year as a
Sure.
teacher. And I think it's ironic. I was escaping corporate and all of what you just described and then became a teacher. That's a
Yeah.
joke. That's a
Yeah.
joke. But it's a joke because I didn't realize what that, I love teaching, don't get me wrong, but
Yes.
I went from one stress to a different stress. So we trade
Yeah.
stress, right?
Yes.
And to your point, though, everyone you described, I've seen, I've worked with, I've been that person myself. And as you were talking, I was thinking, oh, that's why I have acid reflux so bad. That's why. But it's the truth. And what
Mhm.
I remember about this, Samantha, and you can kind of check in on it. I remember my identity being tied so much to my performance and being, and I am one of those people. My love language is words for sure. So
Mhm.
for me, if I got to add a girl, that's a joke now, even at my school. If they give me an add a girl, then that makes me happy because I want acknowledgement. And what I've just realized is that that in itself is a whole thing of people who depend on validation. And so that's something I'm checking for myself. But I know that when you're in those positions, in those high stress positions, you're wanting to be recognized, you're wanting
Mhm.
to be validated, you're wanting someone to say, great job. And that ties back to, it could even be childhood trauma. It
Yes.
ties back to what you wanted from your parents.
Mhm.
There's a pattern with people. So as a result of it, also, I think there's a lot of guilt, right? A lot
Mhm.
of guilt associated with women feel guilty when they want to rest. When they have to say no, they feel guilty. So where do you think that guilt comes from, and how do we begin to overcome it?
The guilt comes from all directions, honestly. It
Mm-hmm.
comes from your family of origin, it comes from your community, your culture, it comes from society at large, your school, teachers. That's a really big place where it comes from. We are always looking for validation, and we're taught to look for validation externally so that we can be get our gold star, as it were.
Well, the grade
So
system is right. An
exactly,
A
it is
is one form of validation versus an F. So
absolutely.
absolutely, I agree with you.
Yes, and so that is why it's so hard to let go of guilt and shame around not performing. It is all about performing. Performing at home because you're the best daughter ever, or performing at school where you're the best student ever. And everybody who's looking for and when you don't validation and when you don't get validation, like you mentioned in early childhood, then you're always hungry for that. There's this hole that you're trying to, and now you're constantly looking around trying to make sure see that you are being validated and you doing whatever it takes to be seen, be heard, be validated, get the acknowledgement. Because you're never taught to look within for that. You're never
Right.
taught that you can do that for yourself because it's
Absolutely.
absolutely in you. And as a human being, you are deserving of that. You're already validated.
Absolutely.
The fact that you made it through the birth experience and you made it through childhood, that is
That's
monumental. But
you're
we're
right.
it's so downplayed. And so we don't have the training, the teaching to say, you know what, you're amazing just the way you are. Just give yourself and appreciate yourself. We can
Mhm.
appreciate ourselves more and we can accept ourselves more. I think the need for external validation will diminish. I'm not saying to go away completely because everybody wants it, but you're
Right.
not so dependent on it. And it does not a lifeline for you any longer.
And I have to tell you that I learned what you're talking about. With me, it shows up in relationships. I would, if I'm in a relationship with someone and my partner is not acknowledging or not, you know, communicating with me the way that I want to be communicating, even though I'm going all out because that's what I do. It was my mood is fluctuating right along with that. And
Mhm.
I can't, that's not a way to live. And I've had
Yeah.
to check myself on that and really work on that too. We have expectations because I think when we are someone who crave validation, we also are always expecting it. And in doing so, it's and so when you get advice or you talk to someone, I know I get told when I talk to my coach friends and this, that, and the other, you got to focus on yourself. And we say that all the time. What does that look like? I know you have an event coming up that talks
Yes.
about that. So tell us about your event.
Yeah, so the Black Women's Self-Care Bundle is an event from July 13th, starting tomorrow. This is
Mm-hmm.
Sunday now, tomorrow through the
Mm-hmm.
31st. And it's 12 experts who are sharing twelve resources for Black women, for
Okay.
Black women, by Black women. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such an important experience to have and to be able to get one or as many as you want of these resources so that your self-care journey, your self-devotion journey can be buoyed up so it can be in a good foundation, lay the good foundation for you. So
Mm-hmm.
you can grab that. That's one way to start to take control of your story, your self-care story, create self-care plans, whatever you need to do so that you're not so triggered,
Right.
so you're not a puppet on someone else's strings that is controlling you because they're holding or withholding validation from you. So it puts you back into control of your own life, and it
Right.
makes you the priority for your life. So I think it's a really good resource. These are really good resources for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so go grab them starting tomorrow, July
Mm-hmm.
13th through the 31st. And on the 24th, it's International Self-Care Awareness Day. So there's
Oh,
going to be a roundtable discussion with all 12 experts. And so that's something we're going to be sharing with you as well.
I'm definitely going to check it out. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are things out there. This is the thing that it's not just talk about it, but there are resources. There are people like yourself who are in the business of supporting women in this way. And so I love that. It most definitely. You often say that success shouldn't feel like a slow emergency. I really love that, a slow emergency. I love that phrase. What
Mhm.
does living in a slow emergency look like, and how can someone recognize that they're there?
Oh, wow. A slow emergency is, I like it to where I was. I was living in chronic stress and
Mhm.
you normalize it. I was living and so many other women are living there now
Mhm.
where, oh, it's normal. I'm so used to being calm under pressure, or I'm so used to having everything on my plate or having 10,000 things that I have to do and I get it all done. This pressure valve is raising up higher and higher until you get to the place where you blow a fuse, you explode, you have a medical emergency. And so this is what it looks like to be in a slow emergency situation. You are ignoring all the signs, whether they're mental, whether they're physical, emotional. You just say, oh, I'll just take care of that. You ignore your doctor's appointments. You ignore tick in your eye. How many of us
Mm.
have that tick in our
Mhm.
eye
The
where it's just
nervous tick.
twitching? Yes, and you're ignoring those things.
The
This is
truth.
what a slow emergency looks like. And so
Mm.
the way to start to ease that is to self, starting with a physical, not just and the mental health checkup. Start with grounding. Start with coming back to yourself every day. I tell women like there are 3 times during the day when you can start to ground yourself. In the morning when you get up or before you even get out of bed, just check in with yourself. Who am I? What do I want? How am I feeling? And just breathe. Just for
Mm,
5 you don't even have to do it for 5 minutes, you could do it for 1 minute and just take
mhm,
a deep breath before you hop out of bed, hop into the shower, get your coffee, and start running for the rest of the day. Okay, that's one way. The second is at lunchtime. Lunchtime reset. Okay, where am I? I had a rough morning. So let me go ahead and just take a 5-minute quiet time during my lunch break. Let me just breathe. You can hum. You can just tap. You can do the, like they call it, the butterfly tap. You can do
mhm,
anything you need to do. You can turn off the social media because a lot of times
mhm,
we go right to social media during our lunch break, and it's a way to escape. I do that too sometimes. But before you do that, just check in with
mhm,
yourself. How am I
mhm.
feeling? What do I want to do right now? How help me get through this rest of this day? Take some deep breaths. Go out and walk, or walk around the building if the weather's not great, or walk
Yep,
outside in the sunshine. Do something for you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know you have talked about rituals and systems, and this is good examples of that,
Yeah.
some practical habits. So thank you for sharing that. There are so many things people can start doing right now. All they
Hmm.
have to do is just do it and just
Just,
take some of this advice and try it. I started the morning ritual of grounding myself, but I
mhm.
haven't done it at lunchtime and that's interesting because lunchtime usually you think it's your moment depending on the job you do or where you work, but some people work right through their lunch.
That's.
They don't take the time that they give the lunchtime back to the company. Basically they're
Mhm.
eating and still working, and that is indicative of a whole different issue, obviously,
Yeah.
right? But I used to be that person who would give a side eye to someone if they didn't work through their because I'm like, there's a lot to be done and blah blah blah. And I've
Mhm.
had to learn now that no, no, self devotion, like you said,
Yes.
self devotion.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's key.
Yeah, keep a stress ball at your desk.
There it is. There it is. I don't have it on right now, but I have a fidget ring.
Oh, okay, nice, yeah.
Yeah, and I started that a couple years ago. I wear that ring every day, and I just
Mm.
turn the thing. And so people who know me, who work with me, or see me when they see me turning the ring, it's okay. Let's stand up.
Yes.
She's got something on her mind.
Mm.
All right, a couple comments. I just want to acknowledge. Someone said I like self devotion. Appreciate that. And
Mhm.
then also that this is a good conversation and a great show. So I'm appreciative of those comments. Thank you.
Yeah.
But this is so critical. This is a very critical topic. And so, yeah, so we have a little bit more to share. So let's see what else. Okay, so you live a semi retirement lifestyle on
Yes.
your own terms. I love how that
Mhm.
sounds. So, help the woman who needs to design her life intentionally. What would that look like today compared to, say, earlier in your career? How did that look?
Early in my career, I was all about getting the bag. I was all
Yeah.
about making sure that I made the money, 6 figures, and have the nice house and a great neighborhood with great schools for my kids, and that
Mhm.
was just the trajectory I was on because I was reacting from the childhood I had, and so I wanted to give my children something different, which pushed me and pressured me into creating this high stress lifestyle. But then I got as my was thinking about my kids getting older and leaving the nest and what I wanted to do. Did I really want to work like this for the rest of my life? No, ma'am.
Right.
I didn't want to do
Man.
that. So I
That's right.
I think I was like 45 and I was like, I would love to be retired when I'm 50, 55 years old. And that kind of was always in the back of my mind because I was just really tired. And especially you have this situation going to work really early, really
Yeah.
young. So I started working, I think I was like 14 or 15,
Oh,
summer
yeah.
programs and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I have been and officially working starting when I was 16. So I was like, I have been working for a long time. I am
That's
tired.
right. That's
I do not want to do this anymore. And then of course you look at Social Security. You gotta wait until you almost 70 to get your Social Security.
7.5. Yeah.
So I just
No.
decided that I started setting up my life
Mhm.
to do consulting work and to start getting contracts. And for a while, I was like doing multiple contracts, had my own company, doing multiple contracts, and I was also working full time. And my goal was to start stacking my money to get new clients and to pivot into doing my own business full time. And I do what I have a boutique consulting business. So I have corporate clients and then I have a few private clients where I take care of contracts and I don't do full-time work anymore. So that's
Mm.
kind of moved me into the semi-retired life. And I just started declaring it. I started claiming it. I started saying, I'm now semi-retired. And for me, that helps me ground me in that reality.
Yes.
And I only look for opportunities that allow me to maintain my semi-retired lifestyle because
Mhm.
I'm planning to travel a lot. I need to do
Mhm.
remote work, and I just don't want to
Mhm.
have anyone else in control of my life or my schedule like that anymore, ever.
That's right. I know that's right. I'm so excited to hear that. So I turned 62 this year, and I
Okay.
also am on retirement track. And
Yeah.
I'm going to start saying I am semi-retired
Yes.
because once again I've learned from you. I love
Mhm.
that, and I'll be calling you Samantha, going, okay,
Okay.
now what? As I'm building my consulting firm.
Yes.
Now
Yeah.
what? But
That
I love this. I love this because you are lighting the path ahead of me and showing me another great example of what's possible. And I relate to every single word. I really do.
Mhm.
So I hear that you do more than the wellness, that you also have something to do with technology. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so we touched on that already. This is
Uh-huh.
my boutique consulting business. I am a tech wellness consultant. What that
Okay.
means is I'm like a fractional chief technology officer for Black owned, Black women owned businesses, mostly in the wellness practitioner space. And so I help them turn their tech burnout into bliss so that they can because a lot of times we have a lot of anxiety around technology for our business. What are the systems to choose? How do I set up my certain software, et cetera? So I do that for especially Black midlife women who
Okay.
are pivoting from their career into business or who already has a business and just really needs to get their systems set up. They need strategy and they need some troubleshooting as well. So I do all those things for them. And
Very nice.
I rooted in burnout prevention.
Mhm.
So important because people get caught up in the tech side of their business and they lose momentum when it comes to getting their clients and their coins. So I'm trying to help you get back into that space.
That's right. I need clients in coin. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, I am sitting here going, I will definitely be calling Samantha
Okay.
because that is an area that I struggle with. And everybody says be consistent. When you're working full time and you are transitioning
Mhm.
into this consultancy business, it is not easy and a lot of
Right.
days and nights. And then you're right, I get stalled when it comes to tech. And then people are investing in so many different types of apps and this, and then you find out, okay, that's not, I've gone through a few different platforms
Mhm.
to find out that it's not working for me. And it's not
Yeah.
that those platforms were bad, they were great, they work well for others,
Mhm.
but I did not have the bandwidth or the knowledge to be able to make the best of them.
Exactly.
And so that's where I think someone like yourself is just, it's amazing to come in and help with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I do
Yeah, yeah,
training
yeah.
I do tech training as well because I know a lot of people, they wanna learn about the new software that's coming out. I've done some
Okay.
AI training, et cetera. I don't
Okay.
focus on AI as much because people are just wanting to get the basics of their business set
Yeah.
up, and
Right.
AI can either help you or hinder you a bit if you get distracted by it. So I
Yeah,
do.
you can go down an AI rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of, I research something, then it takes me on to something else.
Mhm.
And I just keep going and going. And I've got pages of stuff because I'm still old school. I'm going to
Yeah.
print everything. I'm going to print. Let me tell you something. If I see it on the screen, I'm looking for the print. How do I print this? Because I need to see it on paper.
Okay, I got you.
I'm one of those. But and I've decided to love and accept myself for being that way. It's
Yes,
okay. It's
absolutely,
absolutely
absolutely.
okay. Yeah. So I have a planner and then I have a thing on my phone and I
Yeah,
do both. But it's okay. So I'm loving this conversation. Good stuff. And I'm getting a lot out of it for myself, which is,
good, good.
again, we'll be talking. But not only myself, but what about other people? So if someone's watching today, they realize that they have been abandoning themselves for
Mm,
years, because that's usually the pattern.
yeah.
Okay. What's the very first step they can take toward reclaiming their peace, capacity, and joy? And talk as long as you want.
Great question. I would say the first step is to give yourself grace by recognizing where you are right now and that it's not bad, it's not evil, it's not even a problem if you unless you make it a problem.
Okay.
And going back to the self-acceptance, okay, this is just where I am right now. and but this is not where I have to stay. And I think recognizing that is so important. So, and then making a decision. Am I going to stay here? How is it working for you? Is this really working for you?
Right.
Making a decision whether or not you're going to stay in the space of stress, burnout, anxiety, and all the things that whatever this name you want to call it, is this worth my health? Is this worth my life? And making a decision to pivot now, just with a decision. You don't have to necessarily do anything. You just got to make the decision, and then you'll start seeing that your life is going to start slowly turning. It takes a long time for a big boat to turn in the water, right?
That's
A
right.
cruise or a freight liner. It takes a while for them to make that turn. And so our lives is like that cruise ship or freight liner. And
Mhm.
so slowly we start to pivot, we start to turn because we recognize that the path that we're on, the track that we're on is leading to destruction. And we deserve, again, to live a life of happiness and freedom and joy because we're beautiful, we're human, and we want to be the most evolved and best version of ourselves.
You really have to believe that. And I know that there's a lot of women out there, and I don't know if age, if it's different at different ages and stages in our
Mhm.
lives. I know for me, the things that I hear today make so much more sense than
Yeah.
they did years ago. So when I was younger, in your 20s, you hear a different message. Your
Mhm.
30s, you hear a different message, in
Right.
40. But by the time you get to where I am now, all of this makes so much sense. Things you've described during this particular episode, the things that we know are happening with high volumes of women. It's just not,
Yeah.
and it's all women, absolutely. But again, we relate to Black women because that's what we are. And I can say that I see it in other women, but I can't quite, I almost feel like you have to realize that you've abandoned yourself.
Yes.
You have to see it because when you're in the midst of it, you don't see it. You aren't necessarily going to learn until you got to go through it, so to speak. And I feel like I look back now and I think, what was I thinking? You ever do that? Do you ever say to yourself,
Yes.
oh, what in the world was I thinking?
We
Why
didn't have,
was, go
yeah,
ahead.
we didn't have the capacity to really recognize what was going on because when your life is in a frenzy like that, when your life is in continuous stress and chaos, it's like you're blinded to everything else. And again, we're taught to abandon ourselves. I don't think it's something that we intentionally do, but the people who benefit the most from our self abandonment will continue to encourage our self abandonment.
Say that.
Yeah. And we have to we have to reclaim, take back control of ourself and start to cultivate self trust, cultivate self devotion, and all the things that center us and release the guilt and shame little by little, because it's going to be there, but little by little, release the guilt and shame and recognize that your value on this planet is innate. It is not something that you have to earn,
It's already there.
it's already there.
So you're born with everything you need to be
Yes.
successful and live a fulfilling life. And it's all the stuff in between, it's all the stuff from childhood up that you're
Mhm.
exposed to environmentally, the people in your life, everything. You're absolutely right. And along the way, you're being reprogrammed, and it's not to your benefit oftentimes because certain people treat other people in a way that serves them
Yeah.
as opposed to making sure that those people are whole and getting what they need as well. I
Yeah.
love this topic. I could forever talk about it because it's me, it's us,
Yeah.
it's everything. And I believe that more and more women are becoming enlightened because of people like you, Samantha, that you're putting it out there and you're helping. But there's so much work to be done
Mhm.
because we have so many young women coming behind us, right? And
Yeah.
so many more that need to hear this and understand. But I appreciate it. I'm so glad you and I are in a collective together, and
Yeah.
I always will continually have access to you. I want others to reach out. The information's at the bottom of the screen. Definitely check out the subs. So we have selfcarealchemist.com. We have substack.com at Samantha Gregory. We have the information right there on the screen. Whether you're playing this in the future, listeners, if you are replaying it, check her out. Self Care Oasis, your podcasters. There's good information. I believe all of that will be in the YouTube notes. But thank you. Do not go away. Hang in there. For all our listeners, once again, please share, subscribe. You know, we all have to say that share, subscribe, wherever you're listening from. Is it Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, whatever outlet you're using to watch this? Share it, share it, share it with your friends, women especially. You need to share this. Samantha, this is awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. And this won't be the last time.
Okay. It's been a
You'll be
pleasure.
back. You'll be back. There'll be more times. They'll see more of you. Absolutely love having you on.
Oh,
Okay, so
thank
just
you.
hang on. I'll talk to you backstage. And everyone else, mwah, thank you. Thank you so much.
See you.